Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's absolutely, the... Am I audible now? Okay, right. I really take just a couple of minutes, just to tell you how Mr. Muthaya, well known as an intellectual and a scholar, came to be associated with a military heritage organization like ours. He was popular mostly for his literary prowess. But one aspect of his personality, not so well known, was his love and admiration for the armed forces. Most people didn't know it. I did, because I had an opportunity and a rather honor to work under his guidance while I documented the military history of Madras. In fact, it was one of his regrets that he didn't have an opportunity to serve in the armed forces. Nevertheless, his knowledge of military history surpassed that of many who served. That could have been probably one of the reasons he readily agreed to join us as a trustee when we were raising this foundation. In the initial years, when we were finding our feet, he was our guiding beacon. That is the reason when he departed from this earth, we instituted this annual memorial lecture. We had many celebrated speakers. One of them is sitting right here, Dr. Shobha Vartman, who gave a talk on Subramanya Bharati. Many of the speakers, we were dealing with Madras, and either knew him, and we have connected the military and this thing. We have a topic of military nature at the same time of general interest, and I'm glad we have General Shankar here as our speaker this year, who is one of India's finest strategic analysts and military speakers. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. It's all yours, General, now.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, I'd like to thank Captain Ramchandran and the Colors of Glory Foundation and Group Captain Vijay Kumar and the Madras Management Association to have given me this opportunity to talk to all of you on this Muthaya Memorial Lecture. It's indeed a matter of honor and great privilege for me. Thank you once again. It's also an honor for me to speak in front of Eva and Mrs. Vatman, Colonel Krishnaswamy, Commodore Vasan, Group Captain Chandrasekhar, and all of you who have taken the trouble of coming and listening to me here. Well, we are living in interesting times. They're very, very interesting times. And Pakistan has just made it, we are living in very interesting times, and Pakistan has made it even more interesting. Right. But be that as it may, we'll first talk of the subject, India as a global player, right? Can I have the slides up? Yeah. We'll first talk of India as a global player and the challenges in a multipolar world. The interesting thing is that cartoon. That cartoon is by a Chinese, and it is more than 2 years old. The Chinese recognize that India is one of the 4 leading powers of this world 2 years back. We are still to recognize ourselves. So having said that, let's move ahead. Okay, before I get into everything, what are the global trends which are flowing in the world today? Right? There are a whole lot of conflicts going all over the world. And the three major ones being Ukraine, one in Gaza, West Asia, and the third circle is that in South China Sea. Though most of us don't realize it, there's actually a big conflict going on out there. Okay? Taiwan, Philippines, Japan, everyone, and with China. But what's more interesting is what's happening near our house. Pakistan is hot, China is hot, and Bangladesh is hottest. Okay, we are living in very, very difficult times in terms of the conflicts which have erupted around us. It doesn't make us weak, it has made us stronger. And it is here that the strength of India starts coming through. Right. We are also living in the midst of tariff war. We don't know what is the tariff, what is the rate of everything, nothing, no. It's all uncertainty all over. We don't know who's fighting whom. What are the alignments? We don't know. We know there's going to be a multipolar world, but who's aligned with whom, we don't know. At times, I don't know if America is aligned with itself or not. Or for that matter, the same goes for China also. Right? Because the external China and the internal China might not be aligned at this point of time. Right? The global growth presents total divergent and uncertain trend lines. That's how it is. In fact, with the tariff war, there's not going to be global growth. There's going to be what do you would call opposite of growth? Whatever it is. Really speaking, most of us have got used to this word growth. You don't know what the opposite of that is. Right? It could call it deflation, regression, whatever it is, but there's no antonym for that. Right? And the thing is uncertainty. Uncertainty is what it is. If you're very certain that, okay, you're going to go into that place, you're okay, but you're going to be very uncertain. When you look at the 10 or 12 largest economies of the world by GDP, you see the trend lines. Okay? Those which were superpowers at one point of time and all that have gone down. You look at Italy, Germany, Japan, all these are gone down. And they're not slated to go up anymore. If anything, they're going to regress. And the demographics are failing. From the top, if you look at China. Though China, they say it's 5%, 4.9% on all that. A lot of it is fake. 2-3 years back, everyone said China is the second largest economy in the world. It might be so still. But one doesn't know whether it's GDP $17 trillion or $12 trillion or $10 trillion. Complete hocus pocus. It's big, but you don't know how big it is. And in this light, if you see, it's only India, which is set to grow consistently at over 6%. Even with this tariff and the new outlook, gloomy outlook which is coming out, they say India is going to maintain 6.2% without fail. And the underpinning factor for all this is people, demography. Right? All erstwhile Western countries, powerful countries, superpowers, not so superpowers, including China, are suffering demographic declines which have not been seen in the history of mankind. And they're not set to grow. And economies at the end of the day is of people. It's not about machines, it's not about robots, it's not about militaries, it's not about ships. It's people who make the economy. And very often we miss that out. And it is here that India with its demographic dividend is set to continue to grow. And our fundamental culture, right, whether it is Aryan culture, Dravidian culture, Hindu culture, Muslim culture, whatever it is, the intricate culture and the pluralistic values of our society will ensure that this growth continues. When you look at it another way, it is the fact that you are just restituting to what we were at some point of time before being colonized and, degraded. Okay, when you look at this gentleman, Trump, he is creating a new world. And this new world is all of disorder. There's no order. He's withdrawn from the WHO, he's breaking the IMF up. He says, I don't want to be part of NATO. He's brought in this tariff regime which no one knows where it's going to end. He also doesn't know. And then, of course, he's put America on a lot of internal actions, which America has not experienced since the Vietnam War. The last upheaval within America happened around the Vietnam War. Internal problems. And whether we like it or not, it still remains the preeminent power of the world. And whatever happens within America, internally or externally, affects all of us. And that is at stake today. Now, the rules-based order, which everyone keeps talking of, that was defined by the international institutions, UN, WHO, UNCLOS. These were the ones which there's no rules-based order. No one has put a set of Government of India rules or the world body of rules. It is these institutional rules which form the rules-based order. And that's being broken. And that's being broken in a big way by China and USA. The pity is there's no replacement for it. That's the disorder which is coming up. And it is in this disorder that India has to grow and become a big power. I'm not saying that there's no doubt left in my mind that we are a big power. We are a big power. Let's take it from that. We shouldn't have doubts as people. And America, of course, is trying to regain its, global hegemony by acting on all these points. If you see, everyone looks at what Trump is doing in tariffs. But if you really look into it, he is now aiming to get hold of Greenland, Canada, Mexico, Panama, and re-establish the Monroe Doctrine that the Western Hemisphere is, unquestionably American. Alongside, he's endeavoring to get the Ukraine-Russia war to a close, getting some order in the West Asia. He's also going after Iran, right? And he's also pressurizing China. In all this, he's actually pressurizing China because he feels two things. One, if America has to be great again, it has to be the unquestioned policeman of the world. Only thing is, this man is doing it in a different manner, but he is doing the same thing. Right? And he is very clear that if America has to be great again, China has to be destroyed, and he is doing it bit by bit. It's a different thing. Many people will have this impression that China is going to come up and, rule whole world and all that. That's not going to happen for the simple reason that their population is vanishing. Now, is there a recession looming? It's on the cards. There's a global recession on the cards. And it is expected. And if you see any foreign channel, everything, they started talking more of India. Because it's India which will pull the world out of recession. Because India has this unique combination of being a consuming market, has the potential to manufacture. Because in scale, it's the only alternative to China in the world. And it's got the human potential also. So everyone, slowly, in fact, these days when you open up various these things. Of course, there's a complete Anglo-Saxon Western bent or the Oriental bent which derides India. I mean, that's a challenge which we'll have to face. But equally, people have said, look, we can't go ahead without India. That's why the Chinese was smart. He made that, cartoon long back. It's only that cartoon earlier had Biden's face, now it's changed to Trump. The Chinese are in a bad shape, very bad shape. I call it the crumbling wall of China. Right? And if you look at it from bottom up, this is the wall. This Chinese wall is on a shaky base, and the base is demography, climate change, and political instability. After the era of Mao Zedong and Deng Xiaoping and the Tiananmen Square era, it is now that we are witnessing political instability in China of a huge variety. There's a problem between the PLA and the political setup, and within the political setup, since Xi Jinping has not yet nominated a heir, there's an issue. And that political instability will sooner or later tell upon everyone else. Right, climate change. Why have I put climate change? China is experiencing the effects of climate change tremendously. And I'll give you a small example. There's contamination, ground, this thing, all that. But the main thing is you have to understand, if tomorrow there's a typhoon or a storm off our coast, in Madras there will be a lot of destruction. Why? Because it's developed. But go 20, 30 kilometers off Madras coast, there will be not much effect. It's only that some coconut trees will fall and all that. Because there's no development. China is so overdeveloped and its cities are in such places that every year it is experiencing a lot of climate change effects. And that is irreplaceable for it. These are things which are not captured anywhere, but it's happening. And increasingly, because of the poor practices of China, they are suffering these climate change consequences on an annual basis regularly. Again, it's a matter of uncertainty. Where people didn't have droughts in China, they are having droughts. Where people never had floods, they are having more floods. So that's something which will come out as we go by. And of course, the demography is out. By 2030, believe you me, you will remember me, 2030 you will see China in a different light altogether. Let me give you a small example. About 3 years back, 4 years back, when I started writing that China will have a demographic decline and will be having a major problem, people laughed at me. The official thing was, demographic decline will happen, but it will happen around 2030. Suddenly, all of a sudden, last year they declared, look, our demography is declining. We are having less number of babies, less number of people are getting married. People are becoming aged. 5 years down the line, you see the effect. Already, China is grappling with this problem in a big way. They don't have solutions. And this tariff war, incidentally, is making this demographic problem even worse. That's the beauty. That's the unseen effect of the tariff war on weak demographies. Right? As things become costly, they become unaffordable for people, and if these things are unaffordable and people are losing jobs and people are not certain of, living for themselves, they don't produce babies. And if they don't produce babies, population goes down. And if population goes down, economies start going down. That's a sure thing. Logic. Okay. And then, for the past 3-4 years, the private sector, consumption, real estate, food insecurity, jobs, infrastructure, exports, and healthcare have been suffering. China is putting all its weight to tell people, please consume. Please buy ACs, please buy cars, please buy everything. Not happening. Just not happening. They went through a property crash, their manufacturing crash, even this auto bubble which you see. Everyone says buy Chinese cars and all. There's a huge involution happening within China, which is killing them. They have a lot of volumes, less profits. But the three spearheads are diplomacy, technology, and military. The diplomacy has failed. No one trusts them anymore after COVID. The technology, of course, they have made a lot of progress. Their military is strong, but again driven by a lot of problems. In the past 10 years, you will not believe, 14 full generals, 26 lieutenant generals, and 50 major generals have been sacked. And these include 2 defense ministers. At this point of time, the Central Military Commission, which is one of the apex bodies of the Chinese government, or the communist government, is cut down by half because those chaps have been arrested by Xi Jinping and purged. There's no replacement. So that's China's story. I've shown you the 2 biggest economies. Okay. And then Europe is in mess. Europe has got lot problems. Europe outsourced its energy requirements to Russia. It outsourced its manpower to, the Islamic countries, all manpower duties, and it outsourced all its economy and security to USA. And now everyone has given up on it. So it doesn't know what to do. Suddenly it says, I have to remilitarize myself. Otherwise I'm stuck with this thing. So there's a change. When Europe remilitarizes, the world goes into war. That's history. And you have to see it in the continuum of those four big powers which I showed. Europe is not part of that big power. Those four big powers are the four big militaries of the world also. So you have this. Now when all these countries militarize, others also start militarizing. So in the next 5 to 10 years, you are going to see strong militarization, remilitarization. And a chap who's over-militarized will start fighting. Logic. Okay? And if the chap is hungry and he doesn't have money to eat or anything and he's got arms, he'll fight. And that's the uncertainty we are going to go through. This is it. I get back, have a look at it. Take this back. Anyone talks anything tomorrow about India, show him this thing. This actually tells you where India is. Okay, but then, there's just that equation doesn't hold good. This I've converted into a quadrilateral of global power. If you see this quadrilateral of global power, you will see USA, China, India and Russia in four corners. Right? Each of them, whether the red arrow is coming inward or the blue arrow is coming inward or outward, is the attractions and the repulsions among the two. And each have their own triangles to form. Right? Now, in this context, let me focus on India. China and India, our equations will be strained for a long time. I don't think it will ever come back. Right? They will never give up Aksachin. Till they don't give up Aksachin, we will never be quiet as a people. That's now ingrained in us. And the Chinese have been strategically foolish because we forgot about Aksachin, we forgot about a lot of things. We let the Chinese come in, do everything in this country. Till they came again in Ladakh and did what they did in 2020. Suddenly the whole of India has woken up. All these kids who are sitting behind, who were more interested in, buying Chinese LEDs and things like that, or, the 10 rupees cheap mal. Okay, suddenly I realized, this fellow is an enemy, I'll not buy it anymore. People of my generation and who are sitting in front, we always knew China was our enemy, but we are a dying breed, old. We have to die, isn't it? One day. It would have gone. The memories of China would have gone, but Chinese were so foolish. He has addressed and made 150 or billion people, 1.5 billion, 1.5 billion people of us enemies. And all of the young people are today aware what China is to India. So this will not go. Okay. Now, in this, the problem, I won't say the problem, the dilemma is India is a strategic partner of Russia and USA. And Russia and USA are traditionally opposite each other. How do you balance them out? That's a challenge. Okay. Then the next thing is, can US or Russia balance China on their own? No, they need India. People say that there's a huge, great friendship between Russia and China. But both of them want a hedge. Especially Russia wants a hedge against China. They use India. USA definitely wants to put down China. There's no doubt. But it can't do without India. And Russia will not come to it. So this quadrilateral is going to be a quadrilateral of push and pulls. And then can US take on the China-Russia partnership on their own? It doesn't have the capability anymore. It needs India. So as a result, we have already emerged as a global balancer. You look at it dispassionately. Why does Putin, today, because of the Pahalgam attack, even this Chinese ambassador in Delhi says, no, terrorism is bad. He's put out a tweet. Could you have thought of it? 3 years back, the same chap went and, China put a veto against Hafiz Saeed being declared as an international terrorist. The tunes have changed. Okay? Trump was the first person who came out and said, this is nonsense, and whatever he said, whatever language he uses. The same America stood by Pakistan during the parliament attack and all that, and beyond, even Balakot and all, right? Russia has always stood alongside us, right? But even Russia today is playing to a large extent to Pakistan. So if you look at the series of international equations, you see that there are a lot of tensions, but no one can do away with India, including Pakistan. Okay, so as a result, there's a centrality which is emerging of India in global affairs. All these fellows which I put in this, whether it's the West, the Global South trusts us. What is important for us is, it's not a matter for GDP, it's not a matter of anything, it's a matter of the fact that people trust us. People trust Indians. I mean, you have to feel this trust when you go out and speak, especially to countries like, in Africa, go to Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka, of course, you'll find a dual tone. But generally, you see that, you're able to win back trust. People trust us. You go to Myanmar, they trust us. Go to Southeast Asia, they don't mind getting security from USA, they don't mind getting their economy straightened out with China, but they want us for trust, that hedge factor. We need a fallback nation, and that fallback nation is India. From being a fallback nation, the switch to being being dependent on that nation is a small step. That's a thing in progress. So when you say India emerges as a global player, that is starting to happen. It's a matter of 5-10 years, you'll see this happening. It's going to happen, whether you like it or not. Okay. We also have to understand that India is the center of all major populations. Right? We are also in the center of all conflict zones. It gives you opportunities, it gives you position, where everyone can come running to you. If you see the world, USA is not in the center of any population growth. It is not in the center of anything. Neither is China. China is also in one corner. Okay. It is also central to the big spenders and the net defense importers. It gives you opportunity. When they have to import, you start producing. And that has started. Luckily, very crucially, we have started defense exports and they're going up. It will take another 5-10 years, maybe 15 years. But this is a trend which is irreversible. And many of you would be saying, we don't make aircraft, we don't make tanks, we don't make this, we don't make that. These are a matter of time. In 2010, the Hindu got out an article saying that, look, India is a country which is in search of an artillery, and we have an artillery which is in search of ammunition, because we didn't have anything. But in 2024, you are exporting. You are exporting ammunition, you are exporting artillery. 14 years. There's a shift which is happening. You look at the Indian Navy, we've always been Atmanirbhar. But we are now, as far as the Navy is concerned, we are struggling with capacity. And we want to be first, help ourselves before we help others. But even in that, today, a lot of people in, the US is striving to build up its Navy. They say, let's use the Russian. There's no capacity anywhere else. Let's use the Indian shipyards. That's the thinking. It's in a matter of a year or two, you will find the Americans lined up here. Because if they want to remilitarize, they don't have manpower to do so. They don't have the factories to do so. They have to come here. They know the place, or go to China, which they'll not go. Okay. So this is the trends which are happening. Okay. You're also central to all disasters. Why have I said disasters? Because in every disaster, India has helped people. Whether it's war, whether it's vaccines for typhoid, whether it's floods, earthquakes, we have helped people. And these have happened here. These are the disasters which have happened in this century. I've maybe missed out one or two. That's how it is. And in all these, we've helped. And you are also in the center of a nuclear growth story. Or rather, if you look at it, everyone used to say, there's a nuclear triangle between China, India, and Pakistan. It's no more. You look at to the west of us, it's now going to be a hexagon. It's going to be China, Pakistan, Iran, India, and Israel. With USA already there in that thing. That's also nuclear power. You have to deal with it. That nuclearization coming, militarization happening, economy is going the other way around. India has a role to play. Why do you think Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman gave out a tweet against Pakistan? Why do you think he gave Mr. Modi a fighter escort to go? Saudi Arabia now has started realizing, I can't rely on wealth and, Quran only. I need something else to sustain my wealth, otherwise it will go down. The American will take it off and the Chinese will take it off. I'll be left with nothing. I'll be left with my sand. So he says, where do I go for trust? Who do I go? He says, I'll go to India and set up the biggest refineries in the world. That's the thing which is happening. And on the other end, for China, there's a big headache. Because China, Russia, North Korea, USA, South Korea, and Japan all want to nuclearize. Now, if these guys nuclearize, there are other countries who say, I also want to nuclearize. So you're going to have a nuclear race. And where are you going to be in this nuclear race is something very important, which I have not put it in my thing. But you have to be up on the nuclear race for only one reason. You're energy deficient. We are energy deficient. On the way out of our energy deficiency is nuclear. One of the ways out. You have to renewables, this, that, everything. But a huge untapped reservoir we have is the thorium route. Because India is one of the biggest holders of thorium in the world. And we already, many people don't know about it. We already have a three-stage plan for thorium-based energy production. And that's going to cater for about almost 15% of our energy. And it's not happening very far, because some of you are looking at me as if I'm speaking Greek or something. It's happening in Kalpakam. 6 months, about last year, our Prime Minister came and inaugurated the second stage, loading of the second stage of the thorium cycle. Okay, so things are happening. Maybe another 5-10 years. It will take time, because it's a process time. We will be well on our way